Today I will show how to run JavaScript in Visual Studio Code. So first thing, you are going to create a Visual Studio Code project. So for that, you go to File, Open Folder, and if you see here, I have created a new folder called JavaScript. How do you create it? So you can click on New Folder and give the folder name and click on Create. Now, since I have already created a folder, so I'm not going to create this folder. So I'm canceling it. Now, what I'm going to do is, you see the JavaScript folder I created appearing over here. So I go over here and say, click on this plus icon, and then create a JavaScript file. Let's name it program.js. Why JS? Because JavaScript file ends with an extension JS, which means JavaScript. Now let's write a simple JavaScript code. And those who are familiar with JavaScript, so I'm just trying to print something on the console window. So I write console.log hello world. Now the next thing is we need to run this code. How do we run this? We need some kind of run button over here, which we do not see. But we do see a run menu over here. So let's see, we go to run and do a run without debugging. Now it's going to ask, Node.js, select a debugger. Now Node.js or VSCode or web app, and or it also asks install an extension for JavaScript. So to run JavaScript code, we need to run install an extension. So what we do is we go to this last button or tab, which is for extensions. Click on this, and then we search for a JavaScript extension called Code Runner. In fact, this is not a JavaScript extension. This is an extension which provides an extension to run JavaScript. So click on this, and then click on install. So now it is installed, and the moment it is installed, you can see we have a run button over here. So now let's go back to our code, which is program.js. Let me close this, and now let's try to run this. Okay, now we can see our code has been executed, and whatever we have written here, hello world, is printed. Let's take another example. So now let's write a function, simple function. Function print integers, and what we are going to do is we are going to declare an array, and let's put some number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all we are going to do is print this number. So what we are going to do is for each. Now, if you see, the IntelliSense in Visual Studio Code has given a snippet to print numbers in an array. Now, all we need to do is replace this array, because this array is not the variable that we have declared, with I, because I is a variable of type array that we have declared. So I'm going to change this to I, and then write console.log I. So all I'm doing is I return a function, print integers. I have declared an array which has 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm iterating over the integer and printing the values of the array. Now, one mistake I have done, the mistake is I have done console.log I. Now I do not want to print the array, rather I want to print each element in the array. So I'm going to replace this with element. Now all we need to do is we need to call this function. So I'm going to say print integers, and now let's go and run. So here we go. We can see it is printing hello world because that's still there in the code, and then also it is calling the function print integers, and it is printing all the numbers that is present in this array. So yeah, this is the quick tip to run JavaScript in Visual Studio Code using the Code Runner extension. Now let's learn how to create a HTML page in Visual Studio Code and then how to run it. So the first step, let's create a HTML page. So I click on the new file icon here, and then let me name the HTML page as home.html. So the extension HTML tells it's a HTML document. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a basic markup HTML, and let's have a closing tag defined for this. Okay, so we have it. Now let me define a body and closing tag, and let me put a message, hello HTML. Now, how do I run this HTML page? When I say run, basically, how do I see this HTML page on the browser? So there are two ways to see this HTML page on the browser. The option one, we can right click on this page, click on copy path, and then I can open a browser, and then I'll just right click, paste. So once I paste, I can see the path on the address bar. Hit enter. Now you can see the HTML page rendered on the browser. So this is a very basic way of rendering the HTML page on the browser. There is another option. Now what we saw is currently we opened this HTML page on the browser, and this HTML page is in our local PC. But let's say you are developing your own web app, and your web app contains HTML page, and you want to host your web app on a web server, so that the HTML page or your web app content can be accessed by anyone who needs to access your web app and go through the HTML page contents. So eventually what you will do is you will be hosting it on a web server, right? But now for development purpose, when you are developing and you want to see how your web application can be hosted on a web server, and you want to test your HTML page, what we need to do is we need to install a local server on the PC, and we can host the HTML page on the local server and test it out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again go to the extension tab on Visual Studio Code, and Visual Studio Code provides an extension called live server. So let's put live server, and here we go, we see live server, and let's click on install. So now the live server has been installed, which means is that a local server has been installed on my PC. Now what I can go and see is, if you see in the bottom, we can see go live button, right? If I click on this go live button, it's going to run the local server, and then it's going to launch the home.html page on the local server. So let's give it a try. So I click on go live, and we can see it has started the server. This is the local server address, and it is running on this port, and it has opened the home.html on the local server.